This week on the Four Rivers Ag Report, the transmission power lines are coming, but where will they be and who wants them there?
And there's another high-demand agricultural product, ag students.
Also, rural depopulation. Hopefully not for this show.
That and more on the Four Rivers Ag Report. Welcome to the Four Rivers Ag Report. I'm Fred Peralta.
And I'm Monica Becker. We've finally reached what I would call summer weather.
Yeah.
It's too hot to do much of anything other than watch the corn grow.
Yeah, and I bet you that's exactly what you do on your days off.
Maybe
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
But in the last week or so, we've seen huge gains made in both corn and soybeans. It's reflected in this week's numbers, but you can bet that it's really going to be seen in next week's report. But first of all, there's something that you've been tracking for a couple of weeks now.
Yes, and it feels like I kind of fell into it. And it is something I feel I should have known about much earlier. It is the Illinois River Transmission Line project. It is part of the nationwide plan to rebuild our power infrastructure. Specifically, the Illinois River Transmission Project would be a 330-mile, 345,000-volt transmission line that would stretch across the state from a new substation near Palmyra, Missouri, across the Mississippi to Quincy, then to Mendoza, Pawnee, Mount Zion, and then to Kansas, just east of Charleston. From Kansas, it would connect to Sugar Creek, Indiana, and then go on. Why? Well, the purpose of the line is to connect newer renewable energy creators in the west to population centers in the east, to improve the reliability of power to multiple areas and be a much more efficient transmission system. All of them good goals.
It's when it goes from concept to construction that things get sticky, particularly if you are a landowner who wakes up to discover that the transmission line of the future is heading straight through your generation's old family farm. Today, we're going to start looking into the project and hopefully provide information for you to begin to make up your own mind. Not in my backyard, also known as NIMBY, is a concept we've all had to deal with sometimes. For example, you like living out in the middle of nowhere by yourself when the megastore buys the land across the street from you.
Yeah, or in the case of my hometown, we love living near local farms and the agricultural communities. It's really nice until some large hog producer suggested building a pig factory farm downwind from some McMansions in our area. It got a whole lot of fun. It may be perfectly legal and economically beneficial project for the one who's building it, but it's often a perfectly terrible and economically horrible project for the person who's there in first. So what are your rights and what can landowners do? Well, first of all, I've been in contact with the Ameren Transmission Lines company, not associated with the Ameren Power, who's building and operating this project. And I've been trying to get a spokesperson on throughout all this. They have not returned my calls and emails yet, but I hope to get them on soon at the earliest possible show to talk about the project and people's options.
But in lieu of all that, let's go over what we do know. Material can be found on the project's website, Illinois Rivers Project. We will post that web address during much of the show, and there's a link to the project map on our website, weiu.net. First of all, plans for the transmission lines have to be approved by the Illinois Commerce Commission. Before that, though, there's a path that takes place that included notification of affected landowners, information gatherings, evidentiary hearings, and a final proposed order.
As far as the path the lines will take through our area, you'll need to check the PDF map on the Illinois River Project website. There are proposed lines through most of the counties in our viewing areas: Moultrie, Douglas, Champaign, Shelby, Edgar, and Clark counties. And not all the proposed lines are on these maps. So if you're in doubt, you should contact the project coordinators. The transmission lines will utilize single pole designs with an easement for the project of 150 feet, 75 feet on either side of the pole center. The landowner retains the right to the farm under the pole, and representatives of the company operating the transmission lines will contact the landowners to discuss the details of each property, including compensation and property restorations. There are qualities that are listed as opportunities and sensitivities. Among the sensitivities are agriculturally zoned land, airports, floodplains, schools, and industrial uses. The rules for intervening and other documents can be found on the ICC website.
The one thing that I can tell you is that many of the people who live and farm along the path are not happy with the prospect. Again, we hope to have on the project proponents on future shows, but this week we talked to a couple of farmers who found out that they farm at ground zero for the project.
With me now is Gary Appleby. He's a farmer in Douglas County near Atwood, and he's one of the landowners who's affected by the proposed Pyatt-Douglas transmission line. Gary, how did you find out about the proposed line in Douglas County?
Well, originally, back in the fall, we'd heard about it then. Ameren was having meetings around the county, Pyatt, Douglas, and Moultrie County. And some of us went to the meetings and they said, well, you're in Douglas and Pyatt County, you don't need to come to the meetings because this line is going through Moultrie County. And that's how we first heard about it.
Okay.
And we kind of forgot about it for a while, to probably after the first of the year. Then we started hearing comments from down south, from Moultrie County, that they had got a group together called interveners and were sending the line north.
So instead of going through Moultrie County to the south, where the line is going to attach towards Kansas, this proposed line goes north and through Pyatt-Douglas?
Yes, it angles north from Mount Zion to a corner of Macon, straight across the bottom edge of Pyatt County into Douglas, or it drops down into Douglas, and then straight across. No regard for property lines, houses, or what.
So, I've gone over some of the criteria that they state they try to look for. What about this property line do you find? What about this line do you find troublesome?
Well, there's no regard for property lines. They run right down through the center of the fields, near houses. It goes right through our Amish community, which is located on the west side of the county. And we have an Indian, it's a artifact burial ground over near the river. It goes right across it. No regard to that. It's registered with the state.
So, you also said it's getting awfully close to the town of Tuscola, correct?
Yes, it's probably half a mile south of Tuscola, and it's probably a quarter of a mile south of the airport, which has a crop dusting business, and it's really going to affect his business. Instead of flying south in his pattern when they take off, they'll have to circle and go over Tuscola to leave.
So is that, as you know it, is that part of the criteria that they normally choose to pick out that line?
No.
Okay.
It seems like they came up with this line in about 3 weeks, where the original Moultrie County line, they spent several years studying it.
Now, who came up with this proposed route?
Well, the Moultrie County Interveners, which is a group of Moultrie County farmers, ICC and Ameren gave them the option to come up with their own line if they didn't like the line of the two routes that they came up with.
Now, I do know by reading the information that Ameren provided to me that if you have an objection to the route, you are permitted to present your own route to the ICC, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so this may not necessarily be the optimum route. This is a route proposed by the Moultrie-Douglas interveners, correct?
Or by the Moultrie County interveners, correct.
Okay. And now, as a farmer, you said property lines, we're talking big poles, aren't we?
Oh yeah, we're talking, let's see, I think 80 to 140 or 50 foot tall, 10-foot bases, and they'll be there forever. The concrete, I think they have to drill down 30 or 40 feet.
Okay, so we're talking a major obstacle for farmers.
Yes.
So if you're in the Pyatt-Douglas County area and you're concerned about this line, or you want to find out more about this line, what should somebody do?
Well, August 1st, 6:30 at the Tuscola Community Building, we're going to have an informational meeting. We'll tell what we've done and what we need to do to continue the fight against this.
Okay. So if you're interested in finding out more, the Ameren Transmission Line Illinois River Project is one place you can check, and also this informational meeting in Douglas County. Where's it going to be at?
Okay, the Tuscola Community Building.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you, Gary. I appreciate your help. With me now is Tom Donnell. He farms near Humboldt. And Tom, as best as we can tell, the proposed transmission lines go through your property. Is that correct?
The secondary line will be on the north edge of where I live for actually 3/4 of a mile. Then it would be on my brother-in-law and sister's farm for half a mile.
Okay.
But it goes supposedly down the line between me and my neighbor, Mr. Wayne Lamphere.
So I mean, this is not just affecting your family; it's affecting your in-laws and your neighbors. Farms.
Affects the whole community.
It affects the whole community. So, talk a little bit about how did you find out that you were on one of the proposed lines?
First, we got a letter in the mail saying that they're going to put this in, call a certain number for information. Secondly, then I got a phone call wanting permission for a survey crew, telephone call, to go out and survey the land.
Yeah.
My response was, 6 inches of water and very muddy. I don't want you out there packing the ground. What about when it dries up? When it dries up, we immediately plant beans on part of it, corn on the rest of it. Last winter, the ground was frozen. Why didn't you call me then? So you're denying us permission to survey? Absolutely.
So
Then I got 2 more phone calls.
I bet you did. I bet you did. So it's the sort of thing where you found out basically from this letter saying, here we come, we want to survey, correct? Yes. So you've had not a whole lot of time to react to this, correct?
Well, then a gentleman, a nice gentleman, he's a professional at this, came up from Texas to get leases, got hold of us. We held a meeting in the basement of the Farm Bureau office. This guy was smooth. He's talking to a bunch of farmers that don't know how to handle this. Then we had an informational meeting put on by the Coles County Farm Bureau at the fairgrounds.
Right.
Almost 150 people showed up.
I bet.
But most importantly, a very wonderful young lady, an attorney that works with the Illinois Farm Bureau out of Bloomington, showed up and told us exactly what we need to do. They have a website that makes it very clear, step by step by step, what I need to do, which is band together with my neighbors, hire one of a list of lawyers that they gave us. We've dealt with this before. We're fighting City Hall. The final decision will be made by a state commission that has 3 people on it. None of them are farmers. All of them are appointed by Governor Quinn.
Well, politics aside, this is a big state project that's going clear across the state.
Yes.
You know, so there's a lot of unhappy people who are going to be talking to this meeting, correct?
Right.
Right. So how can you best make your case for a path? I know one of the suggestions by the Illinois River Project people is that you suggest an alternate route. That pretty much sets farmer against farmer, doesn't it?
That's been done. They've moved it from one place to another depending on resistance.
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be any more hearings that I know of. We just have to wait and see where the axe falls. If I don't want it, why would I want to shove it off on a neighbor 2 miles up the road?
Well, you know, one neighbor you might not like, but several neighbors, yeah. So, Tom, you found out a lot of information from the Farm Bureau. What would you suggest if somebody looks at the website that we're going to have on the screen and finds out that, oh my goodness, I'm near that path? What do you suggest they do?
Get together with your neighbors immediately. Contact Mary Cox, the Farm Bureau manager here. Get a list of these attorneys that the Farm Bureau recommends. Various groups of farmers in this county and surrounding counties already have contacted a lawyer. But if they're not going to choose a route on me, why should I put out money for a lawyer?
Well, I mean, it's the sort of thing where if it's not you, it's somebody else. So,
but if they do decide to go on me before I sign anything, I absolutely have to talk to a lawyer.
Right.
If they tell you you don't need a lawyer, that's when you need one.
Tom, you're absolutely correct. Now, I think that's great advice all the way around. Most important thing is get informed quickly, correct?
How do you do that?
Well,
This seems to be a state secret.
yeah, there's a couple of websites you start out with, but after that, talk to your neighbors, talk to the Farm Bureau, I guess.
Yes.
Okay, well, Tom, Donald, thank you very much.
Well, thank you, sir.
Again, we'd like to say we're hoping to get a representative of the project on air to discuss the pros and cons. If you want more information, please go to the websites, but also check with your neighbors, the local governments nearby, and your local Farm Bureau. It's your land, it's your future, you should know what you're getting into. Well, that was quite a ride now, wasn't it, Monica?
It really was.
Well, is there anything else happening out there in agriculture?
A little bit, or a whole lot of growing might be a more accurate description. Statewide, corn is reporting at 21% silking, up from 8% last week, still behind the 2012 and 5-year averages, and the average height is 63 inches, which is actually above the 5-year average of 57 inches. The quality of the crop is pretty good in the state, with 1% corn listed as very poor, 5% poor, 25% fair, 50% good, and 19% excellent. Locally, we're reporting corn at 15% silking. In soybeans, 32% of the beans are blooming, up from 9% last week and almost up to the 5-year average of 38%. 3% of the crop is listed as setting pods. The crop is in great shape, with 2% rated very poor, 4% poor, 21% fair, 61% good, and 12% excellent. In the East-Southeast District, we're seeing 30% of the plants blooming and no setting pods as of Monday's report. But don't go spending all that money you're going to make on your crop just yet. According to a report by U of I ag economist Gary Schnittke, 2013 net income for grain farmers is likely to be below levels of recent years. He crunched the numbers and concluded that with near average yields and commodity prices at current harvest levels, grain producers will see lower net incomes. Between 2007 and 2011, Schnittke reports that average net grain farm incomes have exceeded $200,000. But with increased input costs and lower grain prices, the average farm will see net incomes of less than $200,000 on average. How much lower? Depends on what happens in the fall. Good luck. One of the things that is in demand are ag students. With agribusiness growing and becoming more technologically advanced, there is a large need for highly qualified workers in fields like engineering and financial services. A USDA spokesperson said that while there have been an increase in the number of students enrolled in agriculture at U.S. universities, that increase has not been enough to keep up with the demand. One report shows that between 2010 and 2015, an estimated 54,000 jobs will be created annually in agriculture, food, and renewable natural resources. Presently, only about 29,000 students are expected to earn degrees in agriculture and life science related fields. Add that to the 24,000 students who earn business and biology degrees who could, emphasis could, go into agriculture, and you have a shortage. Companies have been trying to show prospective employees that the old-fashioned world of farming now includes genetics, highly technical financial instruments, and robotics. So the question becomes, how are you going to keep them down on the farm after they have degrees? Well, how about this? Farmers may soon have a safer, more cost-effective way to maintain their fields and livestock by having eyes in the sky. Unmanned aircraft systems called UAS have typically been used to make dangerous jobs safer, but now they may be used to help farmers increase their yield. Researchers at Kansas State University have been studying the use of UAS in precision agriculture for many years and is now making it available to farmers. A kit to build a small UAS costs about $2,000 and will help the farmer identify information about his crops not visible to the naked eye.
They would tremendously benefit agriculture. Think of it in terms of the landscape and how much of the landscape is utilized for ag, whether it's row crops or pasture. The management of that landscape has very important implications for all of society, economically, wildlife, food production. It's a valuable tool for allowing us to better manage the landscape, to identify problems early on and apply corrective measures before they have an economic impact on the farmer or result in less food produced or some environmental issue that we could have avoided.
Currently, the Federal Aviation Administration does not allow the commercial use of UAS in the airspace. Last February, President Obama signed an FAA Modernization and Reform Act into law, which provides for the integration of UAS into the National Airspace System by September of 2015. So far, 30 states have expressed interest in hosting a test site. One more thing that stinks is that the population in rural areas continues to shrink. It has Chris Langan and Cameron Craig looking at the numbers to see why on this week's On the Map.
On this week's On the Map, I'm here again with Chris Langan, and we're going to talk about rural depopulation.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, for a long time now in our country, we have been depopulating the rural areas of our states, of our nation. As you can see this, if we look at urban population in the U.S., the opposite of rural, we're up to over 80% today of our U.S. population is classified as urban.
Okay. Why is that? Why they shifting?
It goes along with everything we've talked about in sort of previous On the Map segments. The scale of agriculture has been changing almost since the United States has had agriculture. Fewer farmers farming more and more land, doesn't require as many people living in these rural areas, so there's more opportunities in urban areas for a lot of people.
Okay, so we have families, the farmers have children, and the children are seeing opportunities in the urban area, so...
Yeah, it is. It's opportunity. It's brain drain is one of the things that we talk about sometimes in class. So we can map it out. You know, we can see that if we map out population density, all of these little blue areas are these urban areas, these urban centers that are now taking in a lot of the people coming in from rural areas.
Okay.
And 88.4%, or excuse me, 88.4 is the people per square mile average for the country.
Okay.
So if you take everybody in the country,
right,
or every square mile in the country on average, it'd be 88 people.
Per square mile.
Per square mile. And you got to remember, you know, in places like New York City, think of how many tens of thousands of people live in a square mile.
Exactly.
So it all balances out.
Okay.
So this is my hometown. This is where I grew up. Or my
it's a nice little, it's a quiet community.
A nice little square mile.
I've been there.
Yeah. 1939.
Okay. Any
These
circles?
5 places that are circled here were once farms, just like the one I grew up in.
Okay.
And by 2012, each and every one of them has been erased off the face of the world. So this is this example of this rural to urban migration pattern that we've seen. And if we look a little bit further, a little bit more closely at this region, pick a few counties in southern Minnesota where I'm from, and we start back in the late 1800s. Okay, the darker you get towards these blue colors, we're looking at over 15 people per square mile. So the lighter greens, we're going to see population densities at their greatest in the 1930s.
Right.
And really since the 1930s, all across the country has been when we've seen these areas start to depopulate. So by 1970, we're already down to most townships having fewer than 10 people. And by 2010, most have 5 to 10 people.
So what does this mean for the future?
Basically, it's kind of a lack of upkeep with a lot of these rural communities. Small towns get smaller. We're going to see these regional hubs start to take shape and probably be the dominant areas within the rural areas. So.
Well, Chris, once again, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jessica Killow with your Inside Extension. The fair season is here. This year, due to flooding, the Cumberland County 4-H Livestock Fair will be held at the Coles County Fairgrounds. Come by the Coles County 4-H barns to see the Cumberland livestock shows from 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. on Saturday the 20th and from 12 until 4 p.m. on Sunday the 21st. On Monday the 22nd, make sure to check out the Cumberland Master Showmanship Contest at 8 a.m. The Moultrie Douglas 4-H livestock shows will begin this upcoming weekend. Stop by the Moultrie Douglas Fairgrounds at 8 a.m. Saturday, July 20th for the Rabbit, Poultry, and Goat Show. Then come back on Sunday, July 21st at 9 a.m. to see the Dairy, Beef, and Beef Showmanship Contest. The fair will conclude Saturday, July 27th at 9 a.m. with the 4-H Horse Show. The Coles County 4-H Fair kicks off on Sunday, July 28th with the Rabbit and Poultry Show at 2:30. The 4-H livestock shows continue on Monday at 8 a.m. with the Goat, Swine, Sheep, and Beef Rate of Gain Show. The fun continues Tuesday at 9 a.m. with the Beef Show. Of course, you won't want to miss the 4-H Master Showmanship Contest at 6 p.m. on Wednesday, July 31st. On Thursday, August 1st at 5:30 p.m., check out the excitement of the 4-H auction. The fair wraps up Friday, August 2nd at 9 a.m. with the Horse and Pony Show and the Dairy Show. For more information, check out our website or call the office at 345-7034. We look forward to seeing you at our Coles County Fair. As always, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and visit our website to stay up to date on our programming. From U of I Extension serving Coles, Cumberland, Moultrie, Douglas, and Shelby counties, this has been Jessica Killow with your Inside Extension.
And finally this week, a quick look at the Four Rivers AgriPort test plot. Again, remember I had a head start, but it's looking really good. Good ear formation on all the plants, no sign of squirrels or other pests, and the corn is about a height of a good NBA team. Next week, with luck, I'll have an expert checking it out.
Good luck with that, Fred.
Well, thank you very much.
By the way, if you're interested in finding out more about the Illinois River Transmission Line project, go to the website listed below or weiu.net. We should be posting the link anytime.
Yes, and remember to check with your local governments and farm bureaus. That's often a really good place to start.
Work hard, be safe, and enjoy those beautiful sunsets. I'm Monica Becker.
And I'm Fred Peralta, and thanks for watching the Four Rivers Ag Report.